Tat Sat. So where are we in our text?
We're on page 57, February 8th, 1981.
Okay.
Questioner. Sometimes I have a feeling of mindlessness. I feel that only I exist. There is only one thing in this world. I don't have to do anything. I simply exist. Maharaj, that state of being is common to all. That is the message I am without words. Questioner. Is it possible to remain stable? Maharaj, change is only in the mind flow. All the studies you are doing are in the realm of the mind flow. The sense of I am is present because of your birth, through which you encounter many thoughts and concepts, always changing. Presently, the message I am is constant. Questioner, how can one be in that no-mind state? Maharaj, prior to your birth and receiving the message I am, what were you? Questioner, that is a mystery. Maharaj, it is open, very clear, but still it is a mystery. Subsequent to that I am and body-mind, and in the realm of the mind, there occurs what you call spiritual seeking or spiritual knowledge. This is nonsense. In due course, this message I am will disappear. Questioner, how can you say that? What about rebirth? Maharaj, there is no rebirth. In the case of a jnani, the disappearance of the I am will be termed as niruddha, free from the I am. In the case of an ordinary person involved in mind, the disappearance of the message I am will be expressed as the person is dead and has taken another birth. You can never undertake studies about that no message state. You are making studies in the mind zone. Questioner.
Let's stop here just a minute. So again, Vedanta thunders. Your real nature is never born. The Sanskrit term is ajati, unborn. So the physical body and the personality and that individual sense of I am comes about in the same way the dream identity comes. So when we dream, the first thing that happens is what we call avarana shakti, veiling power. Happens with spiritual ignorance. At night we call it falling asleep, meaning I have the non-apprehension of myself as the waker. Then comes Vikshepa Shakti, projecting power. I think I am the dream body. And there's a locus of perception inside that dream body. And I'm identified with it. And I see a world outside and I have thoughts and feelings inside. But do you incarnate into a dream? No. You are not in the dream. The dream is in you. The body in the waking state and the waker ego is no different. Any thoughts on this? Going on.
Questioner. So the witnessing is only possible when there are modifications of the mind? Maharaj, witnessing happens. Remember one thing. I am addressing my talk to the message I am. Questioner, how can I communicate with the I am? How can I listen? Maharaj, listening will come spontaneously, just as you wake up spontaneously and fall asleep spontaneously. Don't make any effort. I did not extract my beingness from there and insert it into here. It is happening spontaneously, and therefore I am experiencing it. During these talks, you have gotten very angry. This is in the zone of mind modifications. It is not a reflection of your consciousness. The one who understands that anger is the message I am. The one who understands that anger is the message I am. All your spiritual studies are conducted with your identification with the mind body. Questioner, I think so, yes. Maharaj, unless you identify correctly who you are, how can you identify others correctly? Recognize your real self. Questioner.
So what's so interesting? If you or I are ego identified, all we can really see are our ideas of other egos. So even the teacher, people would look at Swamiji and they would see the man in the orange robes and his personality and what he said, and they would love him and want his attention and approval. But if you could see that who he really was, who he really is this vast emptiness. He never went anywhere. But we could not see that in Swamiji unless we could see it in ourselves. That's the paradox. So here the student is body identified, so he sees Maharaj. Maharaj. Oh, down there in one tiny corner of my infinite being, this stupid little conversation going on. Going on.
Maharaj, unless you identify correctly who you are, how can you identify others correctly? Recognize your real self. Questioner, how shall I start? Maharaj, faith in God is one of the sadhanas. The firm faith in the self is not a sadhana, it is abidance. Questioner, I believe in God, or I do not believe in God. Are these beliefs the same? Maharaj, who is saying this? What you say will be correct only when you have the conviction that you and God are one. Then you will recognize that there cannot be a God without you. To know yourself is the real knowledge, but you cannot look at yourself. You can only abide in yourself. Give up your attachment to mind modifications. Questioner, sometimes it does happen. How can I transcend the mind? Maharaj, understand that you have no connection with this mind flow. You are apart from it. Be watchful, be alert. A century ago, were you possessed by these mind modifications? Questioner, no. Maharaj, remain exactly like that. Questioner, how can I remain in the I am? Maharaj, it is a stupid question. You are already that. Are you not already the I amness? Questioner, I can't be free from that? Maharaj, a jnani has transcended the I amness and only witnesses it. Questioner, what kind of rule should a man choose for conducting himself in life? Maharaj, this question emanates from your concepts. Throw out your concepts. In the course of your study of spirituality, you have acquired many concepts which you call that knowledge. Do you want me to be embroiled in your concepts? That thought flow is always there, except in deep sleep. Even for a jnani, the thought flow is present, but the thought has changed. Most people are carried away by the thought flow, but a rare person turns around, goes to the source, and departs from the track of that original thought flow, saying, "It is not mine, not my affair." This I amness is the product of objective material. It is not me. I am out of it.
So, what renunciation must we do? There's really only one important and efficacious renunciation, and that's to renounce the mind. That does not mean the cessation of thought. It means we quit believing the mind. You cannot think a real thought. And when we quit believing the mind starts to settle down. When the mind grasps there's no me there, it quits throwing up the I-ness and minus stuff. So then when the thought comes, oh, I need to do laundry today, it's not problematic. Going on.
The statements which come out of here will stick to you, and with that sticking, your spiritual job will be done. When you can do anything, it is for me, but there is a limit to which that can go, isn't there? Questioner, the needs are limitless. Maharaj, I meet many people who, in the pursuit of happiness, are always miserable. Rarely do I encounter someone who says, I am content. February 9th, 1981. Maharaj, my present state is such that this consciousness and all this physical suffering are unbearable. I am prepared to dispose of it right now. This is the state of affairs. Nevertheless, people come here and these talks emanate out of the consciousness. I am addressing you as consciousness. You are the godly consciousness. I am not concerned with your bodily affairs, but you listen from the body-mind standpoint. It is quite natural. I am telling you about the consciousness. In my true state, if I had been aware of consciousness at the moment the body formation was taking place, I would have rejected it.
I will not be born.
But at that highest state, such knowledge is not there, and this body formation and consciousness are both spontaneous. Questioner: Maharaj, will you please explain how we can dive further into that consciousness? Maharaj: How long have you been following spirituality? Questioner: For the last 10 years. Maharaj: Who were your guides or gurus? Questioner: Mostly I was reading. I had a guru in Delhi though. Maharaj: Who is employing the body and the name given to it? Questioner: That is what I want to discover. Maharaj: You need not go in search of it. It will be spontaneous, but you have to wait. I had to wait such a long time to meet you. Questioner: I will wait. Maharaj: Now, understand the subtle difference. What are you, and what do you understand to be you? The body is not you. The name is not you. The body is the food you have consumed. The taste of it is the knowledge I am. That is self, the feeling I am. That is the love to be. How amazing, how incredible, it has no name, but you give many names to it. It is the self, the love to be. That love to be is all pervading. Heaven, hell, countries, houses, these are all concepts. There were rock and earth, a concept you employed, and buildings were built. Before you conceptualize anything, you are. Even before the knowingness, you are. You have only to apperceive this knowingness, the love to be, the self. Who will be listening to such dialogues? Only the self in the body has the urge to understand. People hasten to this place, traveling from distant countries, leaving their families for the time being, because the self wants to know itself. February 11th, 1981. Maharaj, I studied the 5-jeweled ornament. I have understood. It was a very precious gem, and the ultimate product was that diadem. I have understood the value of that, but I am not that. The 5 gems are the 5 elemental body and consciousness, which I considered myself to be. It is very precious because it has the value of the cosmos. I recognize it, and in the process of recognition, I know that I am not that. Now I rarely speak, and when I speak, rarely does anyone understand. You might collect a lot of words, but will they remain with you? You are bereft of words and the meaning of words. You are not a personality. That birth principle which gives rise to the consciousness is not conditioned. It has come spontaneously and manifests as consciousness. How caught up you are with the world. Until yesterday, you did not have knowledge of your existence. And today, you are loquacious. You're speaking so loudly, and you claim that you are Brahman. Questioner: I know that I have to understand all this play of consciousness and conclude that this is like the child of a barren woman. Maharaj, how are you going to catch that child of a barren woman? Just be in your beingness. February 12th, 1981. Maharaj, nothing in the world is of any use to me. That very identity with which you try to understand everything is unreal. Daily, you have to convince yourself about yourself. You have to carry out your life, first of all, assuring yourself that you are. Nothing has happened except the knowingness, only a pinprick of knowingness against this background of your innate nature of no knowingness. And this is no help at all. I don't have any identity arising out of consciousness. Presently, this body is undergoing a lot of agony, dizziness, pain. All these things are happening at the physical level. In spite of this state, the talk comes out inspiringly. Ah. What permits that? It is the guna, the beingness. That beingness not only experiences your visits here, but it also experiences various changes and transformations in this body and in the world. Sometimes I experience the state of lying in some rubbish, and other times I experience that people are worshiping me. But that is all in the realm of consciousness. I realize this is all the outcome of that birth principle, I am. Will the space and the stars feel unhappy about the dirt in the world? It is part of the game in that universal space. Consciousness is subtler than space. You are bent on having knowledge at the most mundane level, but whatever knowledge you collect is bound to disappear. There is only one truth in the world, and that is that everything is unreal. I am the unmanifested, talking through the manifest. When the body, the mind, the vital breath drop off, nothing happens. Only I, the Absolute, prevail always. No knowledge is called for to understand this truth, because that knowledge is innate. What you have learned here will be your guide. The sprouting will take place. February 13th, 1981. Questioner: I have so many questions to ask that it is chaotic. Maharaj: your questions are regarding the concepts of others. Ask questions only regarding yourself. Questioner: I don't know myself. How can I reach that point? How can I come to that? Maharaj: the fact that you do not know yourself is very appropriate. You are not the body, nor the name of the body. Therefore, how can you know yourself? Questioner: how can I experience myself? Maharaj: is it because of the body that you do not see yourself? Questioner: perhaps because I am. Maharaj: I am leading you in that direction. You are. Because you are, your world is. You are lost in the names and titles imprinted on that world. Give up the habit of labeling whatever you are. Be what you were prior to the label or title. Be that. Questioner: is it intuitive, not of the mind? Maharaj: don't employ the mind. Do nothing. Questioner: should you not be aware? Maharaj: that awareness will be there provided you are. You must give up all you have read and heard and just be. Don't be carried away by concepts. Truth is eternal. Whatever you can grasp is unreal. Even your experience that you are is not your true nature. You, as the Absolute, are not this I amness, but presently you have to abide in your I amness. Questioner: I feel afraid. Maharaj: because you have assumed something as I am, which actually you are not, that is why you are afraid. Suppose you find a diamond ring on the road and you pocket it. Since it is not yours, a fear overcomes you. When you put on an identity that is not yours, you are afraid. When you are the pure I amness only, there is no fear. Presently, you are this I am, but this I am is not the truth. Whatever you are prior to the appearance of I am, that is your true nature. February 25th, 1981. Maharaj, each one lives in the world according to certain preconceived concepts. Whatever spiritual knowledge he thinks he may have achieved, he continues to live according to those concepts. Questioner, what is it like to live with no concepts? Maharaj, any answer given to you will be a concept. Questioner, how can one know that he is beyond concepts? Maharaj, merely to understand without the slightest doubt, with great conviction, that there is a state prior to the arising of this consciousness. That itself is sufficient. Questioner, how can one differentiate between just having the thought of it and living it? Maharaj, how do you understand anything? Any knowledge of any kind that you think you can have can only be in the consciousness. How can the consciousness, which came later, give you any knowledge about that state which exists prior to its arrival? Any thought that you have reached or are going to reach, any thought that you have reached or are going to reach that state is false. Whatever happens in consciousness is purely imaginary, a hallucination. Therefore, keep in mind the knowledge that it is consciousness in which everything is happening. With that knowledge, be still. Do not pursue any other thoughts which arise in consciousness. What is necessary is to understand with conviction is that all is temporary and does not reflect your true state. February 27th.
So the point that he's driving at here is it's not figure outable. I love the way Gita frames it. He who knows, meaning he's read a lot of books and has gone to a lot of satsang, watches YouTube videos. He who knows it not. It's indirect knowledge. She who knows it not knows it. Meaning the person who can drop the mind altogether. Or Gita again says, when that person is unmoved by what has been heard and by what has not been heard. That's steady wisdom. Or as the Master Jesus says, in a moment when you take no thought. Ooh, where did that come from? Going on.
February 27th, 1981. Questioner, could Maharaj speak on the relationship between body and spirit? Maharaj, you must get to know your own self. This body is not your true nature. The principle by which you know I am is your true nature. Questioner, what responsibility do I have towards other people? Maharaj, you have built your responsibilities around the teachings which you have derived from the world. But what is that you which is accepting all that responsibility? You must understand that first. You are identifying yourself as a body. That is not self-knowledge. Questioner, I don't always feel that I am the body. When I become still and concentrate, I realize that there is more than just flesh and blood there. It is a new realization for me. Maharaj, have you come to the conclusion that there is no difference between different groups of people? Questioner, except that some people are more greedy and ambitious. I like to visit foreign countries, meet various kinds of people with different customs. Maharaj, don't roam about. Don't come here either. Abide in abide in quietude, peace, stability. Here we are not engaged in any buying or selling. That knowledge I am, without concepts, is evoked or stimulated by the consciousness and peace which emanate from this place. Questioner, why? Oh, that is why it is valuable to be with Maharaj. Maharaj, I am not able to speak much. Don't ask questions. If you want, you may go elsewhere. Questioner, I have been with Maharaj before, and I have felt a profound effect from that visit. I understood more. Maharaj, whatever the experiencer feels or thinks is all in the consciousness and is not real. Questioner, it is difficult for me to express. Maharaj, there is no individual looking at another individual. The sense of presence is cognizing. Other than that, there is nothing. This state of consciousness cognizing what appears in consciousness is being witnessed as a temporary state. The alternate states of waking, sleeping, and the sense of presence are all temporary states that have come upon me. I am not the states. They have all come spontaneously and will go spontaneously. No one has any control over them. Are any of these states your true nature? Questioner, the sense of presence is what I feel I am. Maharaj, will that remain permanently? You must understand that truth is not changeable. Truth is constant and eternal. Whereas the combination of these three states has come upon you and were not there earlier. Whatever is temporary and time-bound cannot be the truth. It is good, as far as it goes, that you have identified with the sense of presence, but understand that even that is temporary and not your true nature.
Amen. So when we're here in satsang and we get tuned up and there's that thunderous quiescence, did it have a beginning and an end? When you go home, is it gone? It's an important mind state. Samadhi. But that's not reality either. It's an awakened state of mind, perhaps, but it's just that, a state of mind. Going on.
The most important thing for you is the I am. Just be that, and the necessary guidance will come. March 2nd, 1981. Questioner, Maharaj has said that he used to think of himself as an individual, but now he does not, for that would be identification with the body. The fact that the body continues even afterward, I mean, the body is so strong that it can continue for a certain period even after one realizes that he is not. Maharaj has said that when this sickness started, the last traces of individuality disappeared. Maharaj, what is your question? Questioner, is the identification with the body so strong? I mean, is it such a habit that one identifies with the body even after one knows what lies beyond? Maharaj, it is not identification as a person as you think. The body is an aid for the manifestation of consciousness, for experiencing. So long as this consciousness exists, it needs an instrument. Without the body, consciousness cannot exist in that form. What is lost is the feeling of being a separate entity. A jnani is like an unborn child. The consciousness is the child when it is born, and the child is sick. This material objective body is sick. The jnani cannot be sick. This body, referring to himself, this body instrument, referring to himself, is disturbed and there is an imbalance. Therefore, I am not able to talk properly nor walk properly. Only so long as you have a body do you know that you are. This applies to all other creatures also. When the body is, the knowledge I am is also there. Questioner.
Let's stop a moment. So there's a marvelous section in Vivekachudamani. Is there prarabdha for the saint, for the Jiva Mukti? And it's an interesting question. Why do we even talk about it? Because those of us who are seekers, we see the Guru, we see the Jnani, and she walks and she talks and she has food and she sleeps, she laughs, she listens to music perhaps. And the idea is, well, what's making that happen if all of the vasanas are roasted, everything's gone? Why don't we drop dead at the moment of realization? And what Shankara says is it's the force of the past, that we had desires for experience which impelled the manifestation of a body. And he uses the image of an archer out hunting in the woods and sees the bushes rustle and think, aha, a tiger, launches the arrow. And the tiger moves and you see, oh my gosh, it's a sacred cow. The arrow's on its way. So those of us on the spiritual path, if we're fortunate, in the course of that arrow's flight called an individual life, we see all the goals that we had: marriage, property, job, approval, even attaining self-realization. Illusory. But the arrow keeps flying. Even though there's nobody there anymore. Now, what is the mark of a jnani? Mark of a jnani is they are no longer identified with the body. So what Maharaj is saying here, for the person of wisdom, they have no prarabdha. It's like I'm looking at the coffee table. Do I have a bowl sitting on me? No, there's a bowl sitting on the coffee table. I'm not a coffee table. And if the coffee table gets broken, how does it affect me? So Vijnani is not identified with the body. Then Shankara goes on to say, well, actually, the body isn't anything that's really material. We were talking about this before class. It comes about in the same way the dream body does. Meaning it's really just imagination. It's sankalpa. Can we attribute cause and effect to something that's imaginary? Once upon a time, there were 3 princes. 2 were never born, and the 3rd was a child of a barren woman. And then they went to a castle that never existed, riding horses that were never born. You can go on and on and on. These exist as imaginary figures, but they have nothing substantial. In the end, so is this body, so is the I amness that he's talking about, this Jiva Bhavana. So how can we attribute cause and effect, prarabdha, to something that's really just imagination? What we know for sure is that out of the ground of being, name and form arises. Mysteriously. It looks real, but it's not real. Now, this is in fact true about everybody. The only difference is that the jnani knows it, and therefore is at peace. Going on.
Only so long as you have a body do you know that you are. This applies to all other creatures also. When the body is, the knowledge I am is also there. Questioner: as the ultimate, am I not aware of my being? Maharaj: to the absolute, the witnessing of this I amness happens. March 4th, 1981. Maharaj: how did you get this I amness? Did it come spontaneously, or did you try for it? As the absolute, you are free from all concepts, including the primary concept, I am. Suddenly, you are caught up in this I amness. Who did it? Has it not happened spontaneously? Questioner: yes, that is true. Maharaj: you did not have this concept I am in the course of the 9 months in the womb. Understand this state of affairs. The concept I am comes spontaneously and goes spontaneously. Amazingly, when it appears, it is accepted as real. All subsequent misconceptions arise from that feeling of reality in the I amness.
Yes.
Try to stabilize in that primary concept I am in order to lose that, and with it, all other concepts. Why am I totally free? Because I have understood the unreality of that I am.
Let's dwell on that. Why am I totally free? Because I've understood the unreality of Jiva Bhavana, that sense that I'm a person. When I think I'm a person, then the world seems real and the struggle seems real. They all arise together. Going on.
I offer my salutations to all the prophets, creeds, religions, etc. I know that they are not real, they are only the play of this consciousness. The truth, the eternal, cannot be witnessed. It ever prevails. In your true state, there are no words, but you think yourself important and you embrace many words. Poor human beings are caught between worldly life and spiritual life. 1 in a million understands all this play of consciousness and transcends it. Questioner, what is death? Maharaj, death is also a hearsay. Have you experienced death? Having followed the course of spirituality, you have come to the end of personality, and there is no more human being. There is only impersonal consciousness. In this realm of consciousness, all that is going on is dynamic playfulness, a process of functioning. There is no differentiation in this process as to a person, an entity, a community, a creed, a religion. In the flash of your consciousness, all this play is going on. The play will come to an end. March 7th, 1981. In pursuing what Maharaj says, the result may be a type of behavior which will be considered peculiar in the world. Maharaj, whose behavior? And considered peculiar by whom? All that is the essence of the 5 elements. By this apperception, the nature of the 5 elements is not going to change. The essence of the 5 elements is this momentary sense of presence as compared to eternity. You come here with a sense of love and regard for me, and you will benefit to the extent of how you perceive me. If you continue to see me as an individual, that will be the extent of your benefits. If you see me as I see myself and as I see you, that will be the further measure of your benefits. The real state is that state which was prior to the arrival of consciousness. Very few will have reached that state. Most of you will not want to go beyond identification with an entity or a body. This identification, which has been changing from infancy to your present state, and which will continue to change in the course of time, is purely seasonal. You identify with the body on the strength of hearsay. Your parents told you that you were born on a certain date, and that this body is what you are. So, based on hearsay, you formed your identity with a certain image. You may think now you have become Gyanis and that you know your identity very well, but most often this is a case of sensory deception. Whatever image of yourself, it is nothing but a concept. Just understand what you are and carry on your daily life to the best of your ability. Questioner, is daily puja, worship, being observed here? Maharaj, yes, Here, the worshipper is the consciousness, and the object of worship is also the consciousness. March 12th, 1981. Questioner: what arose first, I amness or desire? Maharaj: if the I amness is not there, what else can there be? This consciousness is in a state of flux, not stationary. If the power to manifest itself and that knowingness, I amness, have not appeared, no identification can take place. When that I amness appears and is accepted as real, it is conditioned or confined to a certain identity. Questioner: I have dropped my identity. Maharaj: who has dropped it? Questioner: no one has dropped it. It dropped by itself. It was possible to observe the capacity of the brain not to register anything. Maharaj: if the non-reaction state was possible, consciousness would not arise. Questioner: if consciousness is only the content of consciousness, then that knowledge is dropped. Maharaj: what is the necessity of it getting dropped? What was not will not be. That knowledge was not there earlier and is going to disappear. There have been so many teachings by the various saints who have appeared and disappeared. In these talks here, where are the references to Christ, Ram, Krishna, or others? Do we refer to them in our dialogue? There have been so many saints, sages, and gyanis, and each one has been enamored of a particular concept that he wanted the world to know about. Ultimately, the different religions were only individual concepts which appealed to the consciousness in a particular individual at a particular time. Questioner: that is why we are here. Maharaj: when you came, was it not on account of your body-mind? Not only is the body-mind unreal, but this manifest consciousness, this universe, is also unreal. The I amness is dreamlike, ephemeral. Even the feeling of having understood is likely to lead one into a sense of illusion, because the individual thinks he has found something to impart to others, but there is no individual. It is so easy to get totally lost when juggling words by attaching too much importance to them. Just remember that the total functioning of the manifest happens through the friction of the 5 elements, and the talking which takes place is a part of the total functioning. There is no question of anyone seeking a particular benefit for himself as an individual teacher. Man identifies with the gross form. He neither recognizes nor identifies with the manifest consciousness. All the activities go on because of the consciousness, but no one really understands it. When people come here, they have many questions, and they think, after a while, they know something. But when they finally know, there will be no questions to ask. March 13th, 1981. Maharaj: everything happens out of our own self. This consciousness is spontaneously felt in the self only. This I is not an individual. What is the absolute unmanifested. What appears as if in a dream is the manifested relative world, and this experience of the dreamlike state is the same, an identical state for everyone. In this process of functioning that becomes manifest, if you accept something as an individual event, then it affects you as an individual. If you do not take delivery as an individual, but as total functioning, then you are free of whatever is happening. The knowledge of the self is this dreamlike feeling of I amness. By assuming a separate identity, one taints that which is taintless. That is the original sin. Go to the very root. Who are you? What are you? You are the product of the 5 elements. You have taken the support of the 5 elements. Your feeling of I amness emanates from the 5 elements. Focus your attention at that point. What change should occur in you so that you realize yourself? What change could happen to you? When you come here, you must be expecting something to happen. What change do you expect in yourself so that you may say, I have now attained what I sought. I need not go to Maharaj anymore. With what reference to what state are you speaking? What is that state? In that dreamlike state, I am not keeping a record of anyone coming here, nor of any conversations among us. March 21st, 1981. Questioner: if someone understands the truth, does this have any effect on the world at large? Maharaj: the first thing that happens is that the individuality is lost, and whatever happens then is seen as total functioning. The understanding of the total functioning cannot be divided. There is no question of I or you understanding something. It is understanding. This knowledge is not found in books. It is not intellectual knowledge. Although this consciousness functions through millions of forms, it is one and the same consciousness. We have this conviction that I am, I exist, I am alive. That conviction is because of the consciousness, and consciousness is not aware of itself unless the body is there. So what is the relationship? Consciousness is the taste of this physical form. If the form is not there, the taste is not there. The body is the essence of food, and the consciousness is the essence of the physical form. If this is properly understood, is there any individuality? This individuality is a process of manifestation. Questioner:
How much longer is this section?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Questioner: why does the consciousness want to preserve itself in a particular form? Maharaj: when the consciousness identifies itself with a form, it is the nature of this identity to want to continue as long as possible. Consciousness loves that identification so much that it wants to continue. Questioner: if this individuality is lost, will consciousness still want to continue? Maharaj: once consciousness has lost its individuality and has become one with the universe, it will have no need to continue. And that's all.
I think we'll end there today. Anybody have any thoughts or comments on this?
I just want to know if I don't know, I have this question in mind, but maybe it's not related, but
I'm having difficulty understanding you. Can you find a different way to talk into the microphone?
okay, can you hear me better now?
Much, much better. Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Maybe it's the beat. Anyway, so like to have a relationship with another human being, it's like I'm playing just a role. And then I have that relationship with the person. But when I am by myself, I know who I am, and I'm having not a relationship with God, I want to say, but like I have to remember that I am God, and just to be in it, or just to be. but there's no relationship. And when I perceived other, like I am planning something or I'm thinking about what I'm going to say to something else, then I create this relationship in my head. And then I remember, well, the person is not here. I'm not in that role. It's just when I have a relationship, when I'm in contact with another human, that I have to remember the role, but not when I'm not. And I've been trying to stay there, but with the planning or with other things based on my role, I kind of, I'm in and out. So is that something that sometimes it changes eventually, or?
It's still rooted in a misunderstanding, Susali. So,
That I am.
for example, if on a physical level, I'm sitting here and I'm aware of the coffee table does not touch me. If a couple people pick up the coffee table and move it into the dining room, how does it affect me? So the presence or absence of other people doesn't change you.
Okay.
Now, on a relative basis, if you start taking other people as significant and real and relating to you, Susali, then you become more solid as Susali. It's not the other people that's the problem.
Yeah. But yet I still have to live this life, right? And I still have to interact with others. So basically, I have to just keep in mind that I am, and that what I'm doing is not.
And that this phenomenal world and all the things and beings in it are just the play of the infinite. It's all okay. Now, if you must have some sense of an identity, why don't you try being an instrument for peace?
Yeah, like who said that you said that when I don't know who I am, no, when I know who I am you, like God. And when I don't know who I am, I serve you.
Be a yogi. But the idea here is, that beautiful St. Francis prayer, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love, etc., etc., etc. It's a beautiful prayer.
Yeah.
But if you're ego identified, that's the attitude. I was talking with a person this week, and there was a family dynamic. There was a person in the family that seemed to be agitating others. And they wanted to know whether or not they should, to cut to the chase, confront them in some way. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not smart enough. But what you might want to try first is, in those situations, don't do or say anything. Instead, just tune up the mind. Hold sacred space. Now, Susali, you've had the experience where you're on your way over here from San Francisco and your mind's agitated and you're thinking about this, that, and the other thing. And you come in here and you feel the peace in this place. We have class and you tune up, and all of a sudden the problems go away. It's a trick. It's your mind state that's shifted. Why can't you do that at home or at the office?
Yeah, I guess that's the reminder I needed. Okay. Thank you, Jim.
You know, I have no power. It's God who has the power. What happens in satsang? I do my best for Jim to disappear. Let God do the work. Good question. Anybody else? Okay, we'll quit here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.